Rock Jocks does not express the views of any Mountain West Conference members or their affiliates.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Ever heard of Capri Bibs? You will after tonight. We talk running backs, coaches, and all kinds of hoops. We're back on this episode of Rock Jocks.
What is up? It's been a while. Sorry about the extended hiatus that we took there. It was a crazy couple weeks, but we're back to talk about a little bit of Mountain West goodness.
And doesn't it feel so good, Preston?
It does.
To be back at the mic?
Yes.
My goodness.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I'm Preston Croshaw.
I'm Steve Schwartzman.
Yeah, we're going to be your hosts.
You've probably forgotten who we are at this point. But
who are these guys?
But man, it is good to be back. It's been a long hiatus. Some pretty intense stuff has gone down, but good to be back behind the mic.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And we're gonna talk about some good stuff that happened while we were gone, and some good stuff that's going to be happening after or in the future.
Absolutely, a whole lot. We have so much sports going on. I mean, football's heading into the thickness. We're deep into basketball. We've missed a whole lot, but we've got a whole lot more to talk about. So, but I have a subject I want to talk about. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay. You ever heard of a kid named Capri Bibs?
Yeah, I think we've talked about him a few times.
Okay. I've made fun of his name in the past.
Me too.
I've been told by some people that it's another phrase for overalls.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Capri Bibs, which I thought was hysterical and a little bit adorable. But do you know the CSU running back, Capri Bibs? That's the important question.
The man that's got 600 yards and 10 touchdowns in the past 2 games?
He certainly looks like he's killing it. Absolutely. He's coming into a big contest this week against Utah State, gathering a lot of attention with, what was it? It was 6 touchdowns against New Mexico, 66-42 beatdown of the Lobos. So my question for you, okay?
Yes, sir.
We've had a decent amount of players in the Mountain West this year kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, we talk about players like, I'd say Caleb Herring shocked us quite a bit.
Yep, that was the first one.
I'd say, oh gosh, it's so late, and I'm going to say Dingwell, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, the other Adam for San Diego State.
Mm-hmm. So you look at guys who have really surprised us. I mean, you think Caleb Herring has kind of come out of nowhere. I'd say Quinn Kaler is one of those players who's really impressed at San Diego State amid a really slow start for them. But Bibbs has just exploded out of nowhere, put together some insanely intense numbers, put up a lot of points, really shocked a lot of people. But with all of this discussion, what I want to say is, I mean, is this kid the real deal? Is he someone that we should really pay attention to, or is he kind of a Jack Taylor type of story?
Well, I quote one of the coaches of the Mountain West that Capri Bibbs is the hottest back in the nation. Not just in the conference, but in the nation. And I don't know if he's the real deal, in all honesty. I look at what he's done in the past couple of games, and I have to attribute at least a little bit to the fact that he's been facing, bottom 25 defenses. Nevada, their defense has kind of come off the rails. So has Wyoming's. New Mexico, I mean, they've struggled all year long. So you look at who he's been facing, and you have to just wonder, well, yeah, he's got 600 yards and 10 touchdowns in the past couple of games, but do you have to be truly spectacular to do that against these teams?
That's true. That's a good point. I mean, just looking at his progression over the season, you go, who are the larger teams that they've played?
Obviously, Alabama.
He put up 12 yards on 5 attempts, so it's not really like they were looking at him a lot in a game like that.
Yeah. And you look at Boise State.
Yeah.
Like he was averaging like 2.3 yards a carry. That's really not good.
69 yards, 3 touchdowns, but I mean, on 2.8 yards carry, you have to assume that that's something that was more given to him than taken from him. But I mean, when you look at his progression throughout the season, my issue with Capri Bibbs, I think he's fun to watch, and I absolutely do. I think he's an explosive running back, and he's fun to watch.
And he's quick. I like to see him put it outside, go outside, find the hole, and just burn everybody. But I don't know.
No, he's fun to watch. He's that guy that can put up good numbers. But you look at his inconsistencies. I mean, I'm going to run through game by game for you really quick. Okay, start the season off against Colorado, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not awful. Not really awful. I mean, didn't do enough to get them to a victory there. They go to Tulsa. They lose by 3, 83 yards, no touchdowns. Okay, it's fine. You're feeling consistency there. Cal Poly, 48 yards on 11 carries and 1 touchdown. That's a team you should be putting up bigger numbers. I understand you put up 34 points, but...
Yeah, well, he was also kind of... I don't know. I feel like that was a game where they didn't necessarily have to use their best back. And coming into the season, we really didn't know that Capri Bibbs was going to be their best back.
That's a good point. I think so.
We were looking at their other tailbacks and thinking that they were going to be a big deal. I don't really think that he came into his own until the San Jose State game.
I'd say so. I mean, he did drop 148 yards on UTEP. But, I mean, you look at San Jose, that's kind of where I was going to go. I mean, Alabama we already talked about. But you go San Jose State onward, you're looking at a 69-yard game, 5.8 carries, 0 touchdowns. Did have a long of 30, and I think that's what kind of opened some eyes. Was that game. 201 yards against Wyoming. So that's where he really is starting to put up some semblance of momentum. And that's on 29 carries. So I think that's at the point where they officially go,
wow,
we're putting this on his back, and we're going to see if it's going to get us somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily bad. 3 touchdowns. They do a good job. Then they head to Hawaii, and they do what a lot of players have done to Hawaii this year. So I guess it's not necessarily something that should generally shock you. But then you go Boise. We talked about the 69 and 3 touchdowns on Boise. And then, of course, his big 312 against Nevada and his 291 and 6 touchdowns against New Mexico. I'm just not feeling consistency, even from the time they started to put trust in him. You say San Jose State. I feel like the real game that they started to believe in him was UTEP. And I think from that point on, I'm just not seeing general consistency. And I'm not seeing someone that, in my full opinion, can put a game necessarily in his hands.
Yeah, I think that the system that they run in Colorado State is a running back friendly system with Dave Baldwin as their offensive coordinator. And I think that he's going to get yards and he's going to get touchdowns, but will he be able to be consistent? Like you said, he is only a sophomore. Mm-hmm. So we'll see a lot of him, and who knows? He could end up being a NFL draft pick and go on to some great things. But I'm not going to pull the trigger on this kid's the real deal just quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, he's a sophomore and he's young. And, I mean, Dave Baldwin is an offensive coordinator that we've experienced at our home institution here in North Utah, but at Utah State. I don't know why I said North. Who says North Utah? Anyway, and what I've really learned with him is with his running backs. A guy like Robert Turbin, who is a guy who played at Utah State and then went on to play for the Seahawks. One thing you learn watching players like that, Dave Baldwin-type running backs, is that they run a patient rushing game. And what I mean by that is running backs under a Dave Baldwin system generally take about a second longer in the behind the line of scrimmage.
To find the hole.
Because they're finding the hole. It's patient. Because if they can find the hole, they know they can get by. And Capri Bibbs is built for that system.
Mm-hmm. The one cut.
Yeah, he's that guy that goes, if I find that foot of space and make that one cut, then I can find daylight. So I see necessarily the potential. I just don't see him as someone that goes against that. And again, another thing about Baldwin is that he's not a guy that generally knows what to do in big game situations
and in late games.
Yeah, and in late game situations. And that to me is, I don't necessarily feel like. I mean, you look at Bibbs, and his thing here is his big points have really been on blowouts, so to speak. His 3 biggest yard totals: 21-point win over Nevada, a 24-point win against New Mexico, and then a 30-point win against Wyoming. So my thing about that is you look at, let's talk about just general great running backs.
General great running backs.
College running backs. Reggie Bush, right? Yeah. The thing about a player like Reggie Bush, USC fans may not like anyone talking about Reggie Bush anymore at this point, but I go, the thing that was great about a running back like Reggie Bush or a Trent Richardson in Alabama was not just the fact that you could put together these incredible numbers, but when you absolutely positively needed something that was going to change the course of your season late in a game when nothing else was answering for you, or when things were so tight that you needed points now,
You give
they
it to that guy.
answered every single time. I mean, you talk to any USC fan, that title game against Texas, the number one question they're always going to ask is 4th and 2 at the end of that game. They go to Lindale White up the middle. How are you not giving that to who?
Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush was known by that team as the King of Troy that year. They would call him the King of Troy, and it was because he had probably the most magical season we've seen in years. And
is Capri Bibbs that guy?
yeah, is Capri Bibbs that guy? And I don't think he is. I absolutely don't think that they feel like they can put that together. I think with a guy like Bibbs, they hope they can put up points, and if they don't, they try to put it in the hands of their defense and hope they get lucky.
Yep.
I don't think CSU is that type of team. I just don't think Bibbs is that kind of back, to be honest. I mean, they're going to play a tough linebacker-heavy defense in Utah State this week. I'm willing.
I think that he will prove whether or not he is the real deal this week to a certain extent. I mean, we can't just jump the gun like I was saying, but
Totally. But I'd like to be wrong. I think he's a lot of fun to watch. I think the hype is a bit much.
yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Colorado State fans are declaring him the best running back ever. And, it's just like, let's settle down for a little bit, guys, and see how this pans out against some good defenses before we declare that.
But hey, you know something? And I'm going to say this. I've ratted on CSU a lot this year, and I've given them a lot of, I'd say, abuse even.
Yeah, we both
6-5 overall, 4-2 in the conference.
Hey, they need one more win because they have 2 wins against FCS teams, so they need one more win to clinch bowl eligibility.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people that will raise my hand and eat crow and say, hey,
good job.
CSU, you've done a lot better, and I can see where it's improving your program. Having a guy like Bibbs, I think your coaching situation is, I think things are improving for a school like Colorado
Coach
State.
Mack is doing good things over
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. So, good news over there. I want to move on to something else, though.
Yeah,
And
let's
this is
do it.
something that I'm excited to talk about. I want to have a little debate with you.
Okay.
Okay? You know how much I like debates.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a little bit of a debate. If we had a judge, we'd bring him in now. We couldn't afford a robe, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
Because nothing's
it
better
is.
than a good judicial robe. We should start a band called the Judicial Robes.
Robes.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
I wouldn't mind that. What type of music would that be? Punk, maybe? Grunge?
Judicial robes. Yeah, I would think grunge.
Almost like an aggressive grunge, like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
The Judicial Robes. I like that. So against my time. So here's my question, and I'm going to let you start. You pick any side you want. Coach Chris Peterson, stay or go?
Do I stay or do I go? I am going to say that he's going to stay. Mostly because I feel like he is the king of Boise. He can get whatever he wants in Boise. We were discussing this earlier. He's built a great program in the Broncos, and I think that he really enjoys taking a program that, was nothing and establishing as a national powerhouse and a consistent winner.
Okay.
That they are. I think that when you mention BCS Buster, the first team out of your mouth is Boise State. I think that Chris Peterson has really enjoyed being a part of that, and it's not like he's gonna get the big programs to give him just a blank contract, forever, because you look at USC or Texas, these teams that everyone's talking, we need a new coach. I don't know if he's going to be able to get a blank check and just say, hey, give me 5-6 years. Those fan bases and that staff at those institutions, they just don't have the patience for that kind of stuff. So,
Well, that's an interesting thought, and I agree with you. Chris Peterson, as far as Boise fans go, is a god and a beacon, and
why wouldn't you want to just stay there?
And a prophet. He probably is going to get his own statue up there.
Probably.
I mean, look at what he's done to the program. Credit where credit is due. Look at where he has done for that program. He has turned them into a powerhouse. No one knew what the heck Boise State was. I'd say 10 years ago, maybe a little more, but still around then. I mean, it was. And then you look at it now, amazing turnaround. But you know who else was seen as a beacon and a light and someone a lot of people followed and cared about? Open
Who?
up the Bible. His name is David. Okay? And we talk a lot about Goliath alerts and David and Goliath. Here's a guy who slayed Goliath and everyone put all their faith in. But you know something, Preston? Even David had Bathsheba.
That's
right?
true.
And so you look at Texas. You look at UT out in Austin, warm weather. Okay? Texas pride.
One of the largest
Bathsheba.
fan bases.
Bathsheba's just sitting there bathing. Sitting there bathing, saying, we will give you multi-million-dollar contracts, sponsorships, anything you want. You can recruit in Istanbul if you want to. We have the budget for it. Go ahead and get what you want, because here's the thing, okay? Mac Brown won UT a national title, okay? Ever since has really done, and then a couple of years later went to a national title game and lost to Alabama. Since then, in my opinion, has been in a downward spiral, okay? What Taysom Hill and BYU did to them earlier this season should be absolutely unacceptable. I mean, I look at how USC dumped Lane Kiffin, and I expected the same treatment to a guy like Brown, right? In my personal opinion, when you look at how that goes, okay? If I'm the University of Texas specifically, and this is where I would, if he were to leave, this is where I'd see him going. I don't necessarily see a guy like Chris Peterson going to USC. In my opinion, that is Ed Orgeron's job now.
Yeah, well, with a win over Stanford, that definitely helps.
You get a huge win against Stanford. That builds that for you. His team believes in him. But Texas needs something. And I think if I'm the AD at Texas, I go, let's rebrand. Let's gut out this entire house and let's build up something new. Let's see if something else can make this happen. Okay? And you go to a guy like Chris Peterson and he goes, remember Vince Young? We're going to let you recruit your own Vince Young and you get to do whatever you want with him. Okay, and
that would be enticing.
You can build that up. And we're actually going to give you guys that can build the most smoldering defense, and you get to take back the Pac-12. All right? Baylor is the best football team. I said
Big 12.
Pac-12. I say Pac-12 a lot. I meant Big 12. Devout listeners know that I'm no good with words, but you get to take back the Big 12. And what that means is Baylor's no longer the best team in the Big 12, which... Look, they're good this year, but that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I don't know. They came out of nowhere a couple years ago. But
That's true.
Carry on.
But hey, knock Baylor off their pedestal. Okay, show Ohio, I'm an idiot. Oklahoma out in Norman, who's still boss, and let's bring back Texas football. And I think Chris Peterson could be the guy that brings excitement to that. So what does that mean? We got to give this guy everything we have.
Okay, well...
So if Chris Peterson gets the offer he can't refuse, okay, to take... Look at all the things that you've accomplished in Boise. That's fantastic, but think of how much more you can do. Let's turn these BCS games into national titles.
Well, you were talking about recruiting and I really think that would be very enticing to have the capability to just recruit from one of the largest recruiting bases in the nation. But I really think that Chris Peterson likes taking kind of the backwoods talent, the talent that nobody really sees coming, and developing it into something that, maybe individually they're not the best, but as a team and as a system, they work really well. And honestly, I don't think that his system would be a Big 12 kind of football.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, and I'm going to put this in childhood terms like I know, so what you're saying is Chris Peterson's a lot like Zordon. Right? Get those feisty teens and turn them into the Power Rangers.
Exactly.
Turn them into something and put up a fight. See, I think Chris Peterson wants to make himself a legend. He's got to go from Zordon to Nick Fury. Right? He's got to find the best of the best, and he's got to go where that's going to happen and build his Avengers.
But I think that he is already a legend. And why risk tanking your career on 3 or 4 years of rebuilding in Texas when you have something going great in Boise and you can just stick around? Obviously, Boise isn't Austin, but I'm sure he gets a lot of perks. So,
well, more than pretty much anyone in the history of Idaho has to, right?
Yeah, he's making $2 million a year, which is he's the highest paid coach in the Mountain West, which he deservedly is.
Yeah.
But Texas can offer him what, 4.9 mil a year.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, why risk having the prima donnas in the AD's office kicking you out early before you can get anything rolling. So that's all I'm saying.
No, that's a solid point, and I totally understand that.
So stick with being Zordon, not Nick.
Don't switch to the Nick Fury side of things. Don't become a leader of the Avengers. I totally see your point. I mean, in all reality, if he hasn't left yet, it doesn't make sense. I definitely would like to see Chris Peterson get one more really solid shake at Boise, but I mean, I feel like the money's going to be there. People are going to flash that in his face. So we'll see how it goes. But Boise fans, I'd like to hear your take on this. I'm telling your coach to leave, so I'd like some get at MWC Rock Jocks is our Twitter. Jump on there, give us your thoughts. I know you Bronco fans are loud, so you're free to come talk to me anytime.
Yeah, I sat by some the other day. It was a less than pleasant experience.
Less than pleasant. Some are loud, some are boisterous.
Well, okay. Some of them were nice, but these guys were just intoxicated beyond a level of niceness. So,
welcome to football. You know what, though? You can't knock a fan base like Boise. Talk about dedication. Like, who knew that Boise, Idaho would be a launching pad for one of the best traveling fan bases in college football?
That's true.
So, good on you for that, but I'd like to hear your commentary. I just told your coach to leave town. I want to know what you think. Absolutely. But there's a lot of talk there with Boise, of course. A lot of big expectations for them this year. Then they lost their best quarterback. Probably lost their chance at a BCS bowl, which brings us to our next quick discussion.
Boise has a bowl.
Boise does have a bowl. Look at that.
Well, look at that.
Boise.
I personally think, wow, I just cut you off like 3 times.
That is totally cool. That's fine. It's been a while. We're rusty.
I personally think that certain cities in our conference deserve a bowl as well.
I'd say so. Boise is one of our few. Well, let's look at the cities in our conference that actually do have that host a bowl game. You have Boise, Vegas, of course,
San Diego,
Honolulu,
and Albuquerque.
Those are the 5. Okay?
Yes.
If the bowl selection committee or the powers that be, whoever they are, come to the Mountain West Conference and they say, we have the means to add one more bowl to the schedule and we want it to come out of the Mountain West Conference. If you're the head of the Mountain West Conference right now, if you're the guy who gets to make that decision, Preston, what city gets granted its bowl game?
Oh, there's a lot of enticing cities. I was thinking Colorado Springs would be cool.
Okay.
But I don't think that would ever happen. I would like to see Utah get a bowl because it's right in the middle, but I don't think that it would be in Logan.
Okay. So maybe like Salt Lake City
Salt
type
Lake
of a
City
thing?
Bowl. So obviously that wouldn't be hosted by a Mountain West Conference institution. That'd be a Pac-12 institution.
I think the state of Utah could use that.
Yeah.
It'd be good for them.
But I think that the best chance of another city hosting would be Fresno, California.
Fresno.
I mean, it's warm weather.
Out in the SJ Valley, okay.
Yeah. The San Joaquin Valley is beautiful. I've heard a suggested name of the Orchard Bowl.
That's a beautiful name for a bowl game, actually.
Or I would like to hear the Valley Bowl.
The Valley Bowl would be good, too. And I think that adds a little more history with them.
Yeah. So
but I like that Orchard Bowl name. And then the trophy can be full of fruits, grapes, and whatnot.
Yeah.
Apples.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Just raisins, maybe? The Raisin Bowl. How did we not think of that?
The raisin capital of the world is
the
Fresno.
Raisin Bowl.
That's
Fresno fans, you've got to love that.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the Raisin Bowl or I don't know. Raisins come from grapes, so you could be, I don't know, like the Vineyard Bowl.
The Vine Bowl.
That sounds biblical.
That sounds biblical. I like the Orchard Bowl. I think that sounds cool. The Valley Bowl would be a good name. That'd be a fun area.
But I just think that Fresno is a beautiful area. I think that they would host a really good bowl.
Would it compete well? I mean, we have several bowl games going on in the state of California.
That's true.
Would it compete well with the rest of those?
Well,
I mean, it's spaced decently to where it's not right in the middle of everything.
You do have the Rose Bowl, San Diego.
Is there one in the Bay Area still? Is there one in San Francisco?
I don't know.
There very well used to be. That's something that
we should probably know, but we don't.
Yeah. Well, so maybe there's not a lot of competition. I think it'd be a good spot. I have a thought. And every time I brought it up to someone, they've laughed at me. But I think this could be an honestly interesting spot for a bowl.
I know what you're about to say.
I know, and you're not necessarily
Taco
a fan
John's,
either.
baby. Taco John's.
Laramie, Wyoming, man, the Cowboy Bowl. Give me the Cowboy Bowl. Okay, here's the idea. You give what I think is if you have a successful bowl, if you can have one, what you can really do is build business and momentum inside of a city. If you have a good bowl, it's something that can happen. If you have just a good event, I mean, look at cities that get an Olympics or a Super Bowl or a WrestleMania or something like that. And you knew I was going to bring that up. But really, that really changes the momentum of a good city. And I think that as a starting point, a good bowl in Laramie could really be good for that city. And I think that
Well, I will say that their field is pretty.
Absolutely. I think they've revamped. I was about to say that. I think they've revamped their facility. It looks nice. They're rebranding and changing the attitude of their team. I think Laramie as a campus, the University of Wyoming, if you ever have a chance to walk around, is actually a really pretty campus.
Tallest building in Wyoming.
Tallest building in Wyoming. We did talk about that. But I don't see it as a bad option. But and I love that name, the Cowboy Bowl.
The Cowboy
Oh,
Bowl.
how football is that
The
name?
Brown-Eyed Susan Bowl.
The Brown-Eyed Susan Bowl. But how football is that name?
Well,
the
it's
Cowboy Bowl.
It's very American. But here's my problem. Who wants to go to Laramie in December? The wind will knock you over. You've got a wind chill factor of like -20. And
Okay.
you're at an elevation of what? 7,000 some feet? I mean, a lot of people can't even breathe at that elevation. So, like, you've got oxygen masks in the stadium, War Memorial Stadium. People, just sucking on oxygen. And I just don't know.
I guess that's true.
We can always go to Taco John's after the game.
Absolutely, big party at TJ's after the game. My thing is, it really would come down to what teams you book. If you go the Conference USA versus the MAC in Laramie, that's not going to happen. But if you even put this sounds ridiculous, but the 7th SEC team against the 8th Big 12 team, you honestly could draw a crowd because those are teams that honestly would still travel well.
Well, when you go to the 8th SEC team, what are we looking at right now? Vandy?
Yeah.
Let me think here.
Let's go Vandy and
no, wait.
Who's a good Big 12 opponent to throw in there?
LSU. Yeah, Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt and TCU in the
TCU,
Cowboy Bowl.
I think TCU is a little bit higher than the 7th.
Okay, fine. That's a dream matchup for the Cowboy Bowl.
So my point is that even if you did draw a team that from the Big 12 or the SEC, these are going to be near the bottom of those respective conferences. Thus,
Okay.
not having a really big fan base. Because let's be honest, fan bases are fickle things.
Uh-huh.
You have a lot of people that are going to be traveling are fair weather fans.
Okay.
And so I'm looking here. So TCU isn't even actually bowl eligible, nor can they be. But a Texas Tech team, the Red Raiders.
Tech and Vandy.
Wouldn't
be a bad matchup in the Cowboy Bowl.
Well, let me think here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Texas Tech is the 6th in the Big 12.
Red Raiders and the Commodores.
Oh, the Commodores. Vandy. Well, okay, so I know we can wrap this up. I know that you love this idea. And
I'm a huge believer
it's
of this
growing
idea.
on me, but I still think that Fresno has a better chance.
Here's my thing, okay? This will never happen, but I'm going to say it anyway, okay? Let's give him a $2 million payout, all right? And the winner of the Cowboy Bowl gets an all-expense-paid scrimmage against the Dallas Cowboys.
And we can have a chili cook-off.
Yeah, chili cook-off, all-expense-paid scrimmage against the Dallas Cowboys. You get to face the cow. You get to defend Des Bryant for winning the Cowboy Bowl. You get your shot at him.
If you could get the Cowboys to leave their beautiful giant stadium to go to War Memorial Stadium.
But think about that. What team wouldn't send their whole fan base, their whole university to Laramie to fill that stadium, to get their crowd rowdy, to support their team, to make money for their team, just so they can watch their linebackers sack Tony Romo? Who would not jump to that opportunity?
No,
Cowboy Bowl.
All right. Okay, well, let's move on.
I do love the Fresno idea though. I think those would be two good options.
Orchard Bowl.
We'll see. Maybe we'll send the
Valuable.
playoff. We'll put one semifinal next year in Fresno, one in Laramie. The winner plays in Logan.
Yeah, there you go. Well, like I said, Logan's probably not going to happen. 25,000 seats isn't very much for a bowl game, but
Yeah, that's true. But I like that. But while we're talking about this real quick, we're getting to the end of things.
bowl predictions.
Let's do some quick bowl predictions. Are you in agreement with Fresno winning out and going to the BCS?
Yes.
Absolutely. So we're going to let that one out of the way. I definitely think that's going to happen. I don't see that. So way to go, Bulldogs. Keep that one up. Vegas Bowl.
Vegas Bowl, Boise.
I'm on board with Boise as well. It's their fourth in a row, but it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the thing is that, like, who's not going to pick up a Boise State team first?
It's true.
Because, like you just said, one of the best traveling fan bases in the country. San Diego Bowl, Poinsettia.
Poinsettia Bowl, I go San Jose State.
San Jose State.
Okay.
All right. Well, we do. San Jose State has to get bowl eligible.
Okay.
Let's remember.
Okay, maybe I got my numbers wrong.
San Diego State, maybe. I think that San Diego will stay at home.
So we're back.
A 5 or 6.
I think if they get in, if they can beat Navy, you have to assume they're not going to beat Fresno, but I think if they're going to beat Navy, which I think is a legitimate shot, I just see that as a good fit for them.
Okay.
Over in San Diego.
I'm gonna stick with the Wampus Cats in the San Diego. What is it? The San Diego Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. I'm pretty sure is the
that
official name.
Gigantic name.
Yeah, it's like this huge title, and then there's the Poinsettia Bowl. It's like,
Yep.
oh.
Let's switch over to another bowl just because that's where I have San Diego, Hawaii. So
Hawaii
I
Bowl.
have the Wampus Cats, the Aztecs, and the Hawaii Bowl.
Okay, I've got Colorado State going to the Hawaii Bowl.
Good pick. That was my second choice for that. What next? New Mexico? Gildan, New Mexico Bowl.
The Gildan, New Mexico Bowl. I am going to go with UNLV.
I have Colorado State in the Gildan Bowl.
Mm.
So
All right.
funny that we're now matching up.
I know,
So.
it's kind of strange.
Idaho Potato.
Idaho Potato Bowl. Ooh. You know what? I don't know. Who do you have?
I have Caleb Herring eating his starchy carbs.
So
over in the Potato
UNLV,
Bowl. Yeah, and then I have USU finishing things out in the Military Bowl out in Fort Worth.
Utah State. You know, Wyoming. I want Wyoming to get to the Potato Bowl so bad, but
That was our preseason pick.
I know
We both agreed on that.
I just
But
don't.
they've got to win 2 games.
Yeah. Well, okay. So they have Hawaii and Utah State.
Okay, they've got to beat both Hawaii and USU
So I don't.
to get into the
They're
Potato
going to
Bowl.
beat Hawaii, but I don't think they're going to beat Utah State. So
So do you think we're even going to fill all these?
I honestly don't know. Like I'm looking at it right now. Fresno goes to BCS.
Yeah.
San Diego stays at home in the Poinsettia Bowl. Okay.
Hmm.
I haven't thrown out San Jose. See, now I understand. Now I
Yeah,
understand.
I think SJSU works hard. They know what's at stake, and they beat Navy to get into
'Kay,
bowl
so
eligibility. And
I'm-
I have them in San Diego because it's good proximity for them. It's about the same.
I'm going to say
bad.
San Jose goes to the Potato Bowl.
And you have Utah State in the
And
Military,
the Military
Bowl,
Bowl as well.
heading out to Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
Now that Fort Worth game, that's not in.
That's not in the Cowboy Stadium.
That's not in Jerrytown.
No, that's in TCU Stadium.
Okay. Gosh darn it.
I know. Gigantic.
Do we
jumbo
have a bowl
Tron.
game at Jerrytown anywhere at all?
Yes, it's.
So I guess the new Cowboy Stadium, whatever they're
I think
called.
it's called the Texas Bowl.
That sounds about right, actually.
I'm pretty sure it's the
Yeah.
Texas Bowl.
I know he had something. So
Mm-hmm.
I got excited for a second, then I went, it's probably at TCU.
not.
That
Yep.
makes a lot of sense. So that's our look at our bowl predictions. Again, fans, we'd like to hear you guys clue in your thoughts on your bowl predictions. So send them over to us. Tweet us at MWC Rock Jocks. Hashtag MWC Bowl. So MWC BOWL. And send us your predictions for where you think our teams are going to go as far as bowl season is concerned. Even if you want to have fun, tell us opponents. We actually didn't talk opponents. That would have taken a lot of research this late at night, and I just wasn't down for that.
Well, research. The thing is, it's just so, I don't know. At this point, it's all, just theoretical. So,
True.
and I don't know enough about the other conferences to say this team's going to get in it, So, well,
No.
let's. That was good talking football, Steve. Again,
That was fun.
I enjoyed it.
It was therapeutic.
And now it's time to switch gears to the hardwood, really, and talk about basketball for the first time on this show, which we have not done.
Let's
which
talk
is-
hoops.
Let's do it.
I'm excited. I love talking hoops. So, preseason polls came out. I know
Mhm.
Preston, our numbers guy. I don't know if any of you watched Salute Your Shorts, but they used to have a character named Sponge, who what was his last name? I used to know his last name right off the top of my head. But they always talk about,
Sponge.
yeah, he has knowledge coming out of him like water comes out of a sponge. But our numbers guy here is Preston, and I'm gonna
guess.
run him some deets. He's got the deets on the preseason
The
polls,
deets.
which none of those are numbers.
The details.
That should
I'm a
prove to
details
you
guy.
right now. That should prove to you right now. This is like Sean Connery doing a show with like Bill S. Preston, and I'm Bill S. Preston, Esquire.
And so I'm not Preston. Anyway, okay. Well, the preseason polls, the media picked none other than the Lobos to be number one, which makes a lot of sense. And they've got San Jose State at the bottom. So in between, honestly, those two are pretty much sure things
Absolutely.
for me. So, and then in the middle it goes UNLV, Boise State, San Diego State, Utah State, Colorado State, Wyoming, Fresno, Nevada, Air Force, and then the Spartans, like I said. So, New Mexico got all of the first place votes except for one, which UNLV got one vote for the first place. I was kind of surprised a little bit that New Mexico got all the first place votes except for the one, but looking at through their roster and just the potential of this team, it really doesn't surprise me anymore.
I will go out on a limb. I mean, I may not go as deep as saying Final Four, but this is a team that can go deep in the NCAA tournament.
Elite Eight, I think.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good team.
They have the size. They have the scoring ability. I mean, this is a really, really deep team. I mean, they run pretty much a big three scheme, if you think about it. So I definitely would not be shocked to see them make a pretty solid deep run in the tournament. So they were my easy pick to top the conference.
Yeah. I feel like in between there's a lot of debate that we could have about where the teams are going to end up. We're going to talk about this later, but what's been going on with UNLV is a little bit concerning. Boise State has all 5 starters returning, and that's a team that went to the Big Dance, obviously lost in the first game, but could have a really good season as well. San Diego State has they're very well coached, and they've got a great home court advantage. Utah State, same thing, very well coached. Spectrum's brutal, and then any of these teams could end up being better than what people think. And I look at a team like Nevada; they were picked 9th. But Deontay Burton at Nevada so far in the first couple games has just been lighting it up, just been crazy. He's a senior; he plays guard, but if he can get some guys around him, I think that Reno could have some noise to be made.
No, I definitely believe. I mean, it's at most some of these guys have played 4 games so far. A couple of them actually. New Mexico's only played 2, so it's pretty early on in the season. But maybe when I look at it, Boise is the team that brings the experience, I think, to play. And just returning 5 starters, that's something you don't see very often. And when you see a lot of the starters like that, usually what they see is a re-energized commitment to get back what they lost. And so I could see them making maybe not a large run, but getting a win or 2 in the tournament. I definitely see them. I honestly, right now, when I look at the talent up and down of all the teams right now, I think New Mexico, there's no question, has the most talented team. And when you look at guys like Cameron Barstow and Alex Kirk, who, in my opinion, we talked earlier tonight about how We both think he's NBA ready. True 7-footer, great scorer, can do a lot on the court. But I think talent-wise, in my personal opinion, Utah State is the second best team in this conference.
I'm tempted to agree with you, except that I really believe UNLV will pull it together.
That's a good thought. I mean, they've had a really slow start. I mean, losing to Dixie State never makes one feel good.
Yeah, Division II team, you go into an exhibition game and you lose.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
And you can say what you want. Exhibition, they weren't prepared, but come on. I mean,
yeah, and then they
exhibitions
lose to,
where you win by 60 and you try out all your formations.
Yeah, and then they lost a blowout at home against UC Santa Barbara, which UC Santa Barbara is a good team, but you shouldn't lose by 20 at home.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that absolutely made no sense to me. So I'm concerned about them. And again, like I said, Utah State, I think, is the second best team in terms of talent. I think right now, in my opinion, you're going to see a team like Boise end up ranked second overall, just in the experience with what they bring to the toll. But I definitely see New Mexico, USU, Boise, and UNLV closing out the top four.
Yeah, I think the San Diego State will have something to say about it, but
it's true.
We'll see. I mean, they lost some talent, and I don't know.
It's just the one thing you can say about San Diego State. There are a few better coaches than Steve Fisher.
Yeah.
And that's not just because he coached the Fab Five. Incredibly disciplined coach, knows how to get the trust of his players. I mean, he's just done it historically. And so that could definitely be a shock. My question, as you look up and down this, the Mountain West got 5 teams a seed. I believe statistically they had the third best RPI of all conferences in the country.
Last year?
Yeah.
First.
You sure?
First best RPI.
I could have sworn it was... Really?
By the end of the... Wait. When March Madness started, they had the first. They had the first rated RPI. But I think that by the end of the Final Four, they ended up slipping down to third.
Yes, I think it was... You had Big East, Big Ten, and the Mountain West by the end of the year.
But I'm pretty sure that, like, in the middle of the season, they had the first.
That makes sense. I think by the end of the year they dropped down to third because
You're probably
the Mountain
right.
West didn't perform great in the tournament. But to bring 5 teams to have such a high RPI, do we maintain that? I guess my big question is, how many teams are we going to see in the dance this year out of our conference?
I think that we're going to see 4, but I've heard some people predict as low as 3 because of the shuffling of conferences, the Atlantic 10 breaking up, and how everything ended up going in this latest act of reorganizing, this shuffling of conferences. You've got the basketball powers concentrated in these certain conferences, and I feel like those powerhouse conferences will end up getting more bids, thus resulting in less for us. But I think that 4.
See, I kind of see a opposite effect. I feel like the breakdown of things means that we're gonna see some teams get nods that we may not have seen, and not necessarily the teams, but the where they rank, certain rankings. I think we're close to becoming a consistent 5-team conference. And that's what I honestly see this year. I think San Diego State, to me, 24 wins is the cutoff point. If we can get 5 teams, maybe I'd go lower, but I think anywhere between 22 and 24 wins, if not more, we have that shot. And I really think that when you look at New Mexico, who's going to do it? I mean, they could probably get, I'd say, a top 6 seed, maybe a top 5 seed.
Yeah.
You look at Utah State, Boise State, and UNLV, and I really think San Diego State has the skill level to stay within their means. We're looking at 4 teams that probably are most definitely going to win at least 20 games, are going to put up a big fight in the conference. I definitely think that it's a possibility. I would say with an asterisk on that we probably would include at least one of those guys being a play-in. Like I could see San Diego State being a play-in team. And kind of fighting their way in that. But we've watched in the past that that's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, look at Shaka Smart and the VCU Rams and what they did after a play-in. So That's really how I see it. I think that their level of RPI has shown that they're definitely going to be on watch, and I think our teams are going to impress. The first kind of night of college basketball in the Mountain West wasn't the most impressive night in the world, but I think as it comes into its own, we're going to remember that the reason that things ended up the way that they did last year. I mean, you look at 5 teams getting into the dance. You had Anthony Bennett going first in the draft, and a lot of that came from the fact that we had a lot of talented teams. And then you add a team like Utah State to the mix. I just think it really builds up that sense of momentum.
Yeah, my big question is, can we improve on our performance in March Madness, in the tournament? Because we can get four teams in, or we can get 5 teams in like we did last year.
Yeah.
But can we beat teams like Harvard?
Yeah.
Well,
I think this year is the kicker. And I think this year's we go, well, if we have 5 teams that look like they're tournament able, we're going to give you that chance again.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see if any of you can get to a Sweet 16, can make it out of that first bracket.
Can the Mountain West redeem itself from an abysmal showing?
And if you're not, then you go, okay, let's scale back and let's put all of... What is the Big East even called now? I always forget. The American
Athletic Conference.
There it is. It's the AAC.
Mm-hmm.
I legitimately forget it every day. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to football. We'll put all of the Big Ten, which is funny because it's 12. We'll put all of the Big Ten in this year. Why not? And we'll take less of the Mountain West, because that's really what it's becoming in the tournament. Is some conferences are just
getting excluded.
Goodness, for being a member of that conference. Welcome to the tourney.
Yeah, well, like, if you're part of the Missouri Valley Athletic Conference, which actually has some pretty good teams.
But the Ohio Valley, like the OV Conference, has decent teams.
Missouri Valley, right? Creighton, Missouri Valley.
Yeah,
yes.
you're correct.
Yeah, I'm right. Okay, I was just like freaking out there. They have good teams, but because they don't have high RPIs, they're not going to get more than 1 team in.
Yeah, definitely.
And or the WAC.
You talked about the A10 or even the A10 or the MAC or the big Sky Conference. You never know what they're going to pull out. It's funny to watch that. But
Damian Lillard, baby.
Yeah,
Damian Lillard.
He's a big Sky.
Big
Sky guy. There he is. He put us on the map. Put the Big Sky on the map. Well, here's what I want to see. We talked a lot about the teams. We talked about tournament potential. I'm really excited about this because we just have a wealth of talented players in this conference this year. I think you go across the board in college basketball. This is about the most fun college basketball year we're going to have in general when you look at some of our young guys. And I actually think we have a lot of talented young guys here in the conference. Coming in, who is your freshman to watch out for?
I've got the guy that I really think is going to come into his own this year and be not a big surprise, but a revelation is Kendall Smith out of UNLV. So far, he's been playing very well. Played the 4th most minutes on the roster, and that's behind all upperclassmen. And he's averaging 9.5 points a game, which, isn't awesome, but I really think that he's gonna have a good season. He's shooting 60% from the 3-point line, from outside the 3-point, which obviously he hasn't taken that many shots, only 5 so far, but he's made 3 of them, and I think that he's gonna be a good player, shooting just over 50% from the field overall. He's not the biggest guy, but I think he's going to have a really good year. He's just 6'2", 180, pretty small dude, but he's got some great athleticism. He's quick, can shoot the ball. He's my freshman to watch out for. There are a few. UNLV's got a couple good freshmen. Utah State's got one. Jalen Moore.
The Fro.
Jalen
Moore. That's kind of the guy I wanted to talk about. He's on the bench right now, but he comes off and puts in some solid minutes. It's kind of hard with the forwards they have over in Logan, but he's definitely a player that has great shooting potential. He drives extremely well. He's a great ball distributor. Very good speed for his length. So I think in the future he's someone that's going to be huge. And I think a lot of Utah State fans see Jalen Moore as being the next big superstar to come out. Utah State's always been trying to look. They've got a good basketball program, but they've been looking and waiting for a guy who's potentially NBA ready. And Jalen Moore's been getting that kind of publicity.
And then I just really quickly, Devin Williams out of New Mexico. I think that he's going to be a good freshman as well.
I couldn't agree more.
He's kind of a combo guy. He plays forward and guard. He's 6'7", 205. Really good size. Plays the 2 and the 3. So I think that he'll have a breakout year as well. He's a redshirt freshman, but I think that those 3 guys are the freshmen to watch out for this year.
Definitely. And can I bring up just one freshman out of San Diego State? Not because necessarily of his playing, and I'm sure he's a decent basketball player. That's fine and dandy. His name. This is the best name to join the ranks of the Mountain West. You know how big I am about names.
Yes, I do.
Okay. I don't know that a team brings better names in this conference like San Diego State, but man, did they recruit a winner. Okay. Daryl Williams. And that doesn't sound bad until I spell it for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
My body is ready.
Daryl. Capital D, apostrophe. Capital E, R-R-Y-L. Daryl Williams.
Wow. Apostrophe.
You become somebody, Daryl Williams. And I don't know, and I was, hey, SDSU fans, okay, Wampus Cats, tell me, feel free to send me, how do I pronounce this name? Is it Daryl?
Darrell?
Is it Daryl? Is it Daryl? I think it's Daryl. That's what I read off my brain, but they have some good names in San Diego State. I'm excited to look more at these. I'm a big names guy. You guys know that. In fact, I made fun of Capri Bibbs not a month ago. Or it was a little more than a month ago, but a while back.
You did that
and
not
became.
an hour ago.
It's true. but I remember bringing him up going, who's this kid Capri Bibbs? And he became something. So let's see if I have the curse of the name. I bring up Daryl, and he gets huge. So there's a good look at our freshmen this year. Again, excited to talk hoops. It just brings a wealth. And, of course, if ever you have any hoops questions, things that you'd like to ask us, please head to our Twitter at MWCRockJocks. Yes, that's the 3rd time I've brought it up tonight, and I may bring it up yet again. As always, use the hashtag AskTheJocks and ask us anything you'd like to know about Mountain West basketball. We love it. Well, Mountain West fans, we apologize. We did say we were going to get a chance to talk about UNLV in general, but due to time, we're going to push that for another time. Let's see how that goes, but not a big deal. Just really quick, did you see Ender's Game, Preston? Did you like it?
I did.
Okay, good. We're big movie fans. I just felt like touching on that. We haven't talked in a while. It was good like that.
I did see Ender's Game. I read the book. I loved the book. I think that was a good adaptation for this silver screen.
He's a Butterfield, right? Big guy. Fans, if you got anything you'd like us to talk about, and even just sports, sometimes we talk about movies too. I'm currently wearing a Reptar shirt right now.
Yes, he is.
From
Rugrats. If you're too young to know appreciate that reference,
it's
then that's
Reptar, the dinosaur. If you must know, he has a purple tongue. He's bright green and has a purple tongue. But the Reptar bar, the candy bar, turns your tongue green. You'll know that if you're a Rugrats historian. So that's the segment of the show where I tell you which shirt I'm wearing. But I think with that, we've essentially run out of our material. So, Preston, it's time that we ask the age-old question we haven't had a chance to ask in a long time. Preston, what did we learn?
I learned that Steve's love for Laramie, Wyoming is undying. That at any chance he will give his love to Laramie for any and all reasons. And yep, that's it. And I learned that taking a break was a huge mistake.
Yeah, definitely. It's good. It's good to have us back.
Yes.
This is feeling great. This
Rock
is feeling
Jocks,
fun,
baby.
I definitely learned that you really can't underestimate the power of any athlete, and it's hard to forget that in college sports, pretty much any athlete was recruited because they were expected at some point or another to do great things on the field, and so no matter how well he does or how much he makes, it's fun to watch a player like Capri Bibbs do what he's doing for CSU, and it's always fun to see our athletes step up in that way. We've had a lot of dramatic stories go on in the conference this year. It's been a strange year. with injuries and with stories, and it's good to see a player like this make a breakout. And if he doesn't do anything the rest of the year, that's totally fine. That was fun to watch. So we always appreciate that. But with that,
Well,
it's time to say goodbye yet again for another little while. But we thank you so much for taking the time. Again, of course, check us out on Twitter. At MWC Rock Jocks, and check out everything else we have going on here on the Front Row Network. Any of our shows, check out our website and all that we have to offer you. But until next time, I'm Steve Schwartzman.
I'm Preston Croshaw.
Join the climb.